Well, howdy, everyone. Hope you're having a great day. I've sat through a couple really excellent presentations. Both Tom and Rick are superstars in my book, and I appreciate their presentations. I also like to thank Kenny Palmer and Rich Evans for being my tech support and all around helpers. They're going to try to keep me out of trouble. I know it's going to be a big job for them. Want to welcome all of my scouting friends and all of our out of council friends. I do appreciate what you do for scouting and for the youth. I sent out to most of you some links to part of this presentation. What I want to key on now for just a few minutes, kind of build a rapport, get to know what you know about what we're talking about today. And so here's some questions I ask you to consider. You can either answer in person or answer in chat. I will have my chat up and try to get into it. We all have a reason for selecting this course. What are your reasons for selecting this course?
Because I believe units need to have a service plan so that the unit knows which direction they're headed.
All right, thank you. Anybody else? What do you expect to learn from this presentation? I want to make sure your expectations and what I'm covering is what you need.
I think it's important to have a plan because that way you can be much more prepared as time goes on, and as things are coming up, you can be prepared for them.
All right, thank you, Kenny. And many of you already have some knowledge on service plans. In your mind, what is a unit service plan?
I like to think of it as a collaborative plan put together with unit leaders to help the unit become better and achieve the goals.
Thank you, Rick. Anyone in this group, have you created your own unit service plan already?
Both my troops have, both the boys and the girls and the pack. We're working on the crew right now.
Excellent, thank you. I think back on the first unit service plan I created, and I wish I knew then what I know now. I created this great plan, but the problem was I didn't create it with any of the unit leaders. And then now, how am I going to tell them this is what I think you need to do when they should are an integral part of that process? So I learned a lot from that first one. And we've just discussed briefly already. One of the links I sent to you was, why do we do create unit service plans? Rick did a good summary for us. I'm going to move on, but hopefully by the time this is over, you will have an idea of why we creating unit service plans. I see one of my good mentors, Mike Perkins, joined us. Thanks, Mike. Okay. For the purpose of this presentation, you'll hear me refer back to troops. The principles we discuss apply equal to packs, crews, ships, etc. And do not be, hopefully you understand why we're limited to just one organization. Okay, again, one of the documents I sent out ahead was an introduction to Troop 100. If you have that available, would you look at it real quick and spend just a couple of minutes reviewing what we know about Troop 100? And I tried to highlight some of the items. You won't see what I see. And right now, there we go on mine. I think the interesting thing about this particular troop was they're created by the charting organization, but the members of the charting organization does not particularly support them that well. And that's an issue we can talk about later. Program planning. Too often, I think units who are not as successful only plan month for month, sometimes week to week. Other part of that is their checking out finances. How do they raise their money? And I think that a lot of our units do not do that as well as they could. Going to membership. They've been very successful in keeping the 10 scouts they started with, but and they've added 2 additional scouts, but are they really hitting the market that they could? How might they increase their unit membership program? Looking at Troop 1000, you notice their unit program is sometimes fly by the seat of your pants at the best. It's not all encompassing, and it doesn't appear that after a year that those boys have progressed that far along. I'm going to jump out of this introduction and just we'll come back to some of those key points a little bit later on. We all should have a vision or a mission. Unit commissions are to achieve by providing quality support to units. How can we meet this vision? How can we provide quality support to the units? And not just unit commissioners, but all scouters. How can we provide service to the units that we work with? Clicking into chat, see if I any ideas? No discussion on that one. I think a key point to that is, how do we measure quality? Think back in the old days, we had quality units, and that's been replaced by JTE. Is that quality? Is that how we measure a quality?
No, I'd say no. There are other ways to measure quality of a unit.
What do you think, Larry? How? What are some of the other ways?
Well, for an example, that they work together as a team, and that they take responsibility for all their actions, and that they understand what their vision is as a unit and where they want to be. I think as a unit commissioner, that's part of their responsibilities, is to make sure that we as units are functioning properly, that we have trained leaders so that we can give and share that with the youth that we are involved with.
I appreciate that, Larry. One part of that message, how do we as commissioners know that we're providing quality support to our units?
By knowing them, by knowing who they are, kind of being active with them, and at least visiting them once a month, showing that you care, and that if there are any issues that are happening, that you are there for them.
Larry is making a really interesting point, and I agree with it. We are very much a numbers kind of society. We like to have metrics and numbers and all the rest of that stuff. But sometimes it's just observation and qualitative observation. Things like having those relationships, just seeing how the unit is functioning well. Those things can't really necessarily be measured, but they still show quality.
Thank you. I think those items that you can't add a numerical thing sometimes are probably some of the most important ways we show quality. Okay, these are the items that as we go through the presentation today that I hope we'll cover. We've talked previously in one of the presentations about how important it is being a friend to the troops that you serve. How often you contacting? Larry said monthly. There may be times we may do it more than monthly. Looking and helping them through the JTE process and keeping that forefront. And then our earlier presentation that Tom, is that his name? I'm sorry, from Weber Rapids District, talked about the district operations and how you can get them to support units who need assistance. And then I think very key, following up and helping them achieve, because you're not achiever, you are the person that are helping them. All right. I think for me, one of the key functions has that key three. As you look at the positions of the key three, think back on the units you serve. how effective are the key three to your organization, and what do you do if one of those pillars or those links aren't very effective?
Well, I think all three of them play a serious role within the unit, because the COR is the person who is actually the chartered organizational rep, and he has a committee chair, and he relies on that committee chair to know that the unit leaders themselves are functioning and doing what they should be doing, and that those key three, they talk to each other about all of the issues that's going on within the unit itself, and then try to resolve the issues to make the unit more functionable so that the youth are having a great time.
If you think about Troop 1000, who were the key three? Weren't there really just the unit leader and the chair doing all the planning? It didn't sound like they were involving that COR too much.
No, just a committee chair.
How effective the key three if you do not have input from your chartered rep? I would dare say that you're not having a very effective key three if you're not getting all three of those involved. Now,
Well,
looking at that key three, and you're thinking about your own key three, we kind of alluded to this earlier, but how do we measure that a key three is effective? If a certain person out of that key three is not doing what they could do, what do you do to help out that key three?
Well, either one of them, the COR, or the committee chair, or the unit leader, they need to, whichever one is not functioning right, the other two need to maybe sit down with that individual and say, we need your help. And here's some responsibilities that you need to be responsible for to help us to make our unit function properly. And we need your input, and hopefully you can join us and be as one combined unit, because those three people and individuals are what's going to make that unit function properly.
Thank you, Larry. I'm hoping that we have some others out there will chime in and give us some additional feedback. I was thinking about each of the responsibility of the key three, and this predictive presentation is not to cover really that. But what is your responsibility to the key three, and what is your key three's responsibility to your service plan? As we go along, we'll talk more about that. But our role as commissioners is really key. We are not a part of that key three. What is our role then? If we're not a part of the key three, what is our role to the key three?
Well, we're kind of, I make it a point to make sure that they're visited and that they know me, so that if they have an issue, they don't have a problem to come and talk to me as a group, because those three actually function to make the unit work. And if they've got issues, then they've got a person that they can come to as a unit commissioner. Again, that's his responsibility. And you won't know if there's anything wrong there if the unit commissioner's not doing his job and visiting the unit. Because if they've got issues, then they've got the program or the unit or troops not functioning, period.
Rick, you gave a great presentation. What was the principle you discussed that unit commissioner's role is with these three?
So we talked that the unit commissioner is a coach, and one of the other synonyms we had for that is a mentor. And so, our role is to coach these individuals and to engage in that coaching relationship so that they can improve and become the best they can be.
I appreciate that, because that's so critical. And you went through a nice laundry list of things that we should do and how we approach our relationship with the members of the key three. And I just think that's so key that we are there. And I like your word, we're there to mentor them. as much as, and maybe not coaching and mentoring are synonymous, but they're really close. Thank you, Rick. Going back to the first presentation I listened to about the district operating committees, one of our functions as a unit commissioner is to be that link between the unit and the district operating committee. But how do we do that? As commissioners, we're not a member of the district operating committee. Our district commissioner is. How do we link the resources in the district operating committee back to the unit?
Well, I'm going to say what I just got through teaching, and that goes through from the unit commissioner to the ADC, who then reports to the district commissioner, so that they know and have an understanding of what's going on within the unit, so they can provide the help they need.
So if I hear what you say, a unit commissioner in his commissioner meeting with the district commissioner might bring up an issue, and then you're saying that district commissioner would then take it to the district committee for assistance, or can you, as a unit commissioner, go directly to members of the district operating committee?
It actually should go through I look at it like if you're in the military ranks. I mean, you go from the unit to the unit commissioner, and then the ADC, who's the assistant district commissioner, and then to the commissioner, and then if he needs to, he'll take it to the committee of the district, and then they'll resolve it.
I
So
appreciate
Larry,
that. Go ahead, Rick.
I'm going to say that's great. But if you have a problem, by the time that goes through that chain, you got 30 days and everything has gone further south. In this day and age, send them an email, copy everybody in. I need your assistance. You are the chair of this committee. If you're the district operating committee, you are the chair. This is what I need. How can you now help me help this unit?
Marissa, thank you. Rick, what I was going to ask you, as a former district commissioner, if you had 30 unit commissioners all coming to you with an issue, could you handle all those and field all those, or would you prefer your unit commissioners to go directly to the source, as Marissa said?
I'd prefer to go directly to the source. The chair on the district committee responsible for that area that the unit needed assistance with, I think following the other method, that's great for ideas for fall camporee or other things that are okay. We enter in and we're going to process it through. But issues, I'd heard it said, and I tried to make as a policy that within 48 hours, I've got a response back to that unit. It may not be the final response, but I've gone and talked to somebody and I've come back and said, I've got somebody you can talk to, and here's their name and number, type of a thing. Because I think Marissa hit it right on the head. If we let it go too long, it's like kids. I talked to my last lesson, if the consequence isn't close enough to the action, that connection gets lost. And so I think we need to be able, we need to turn that pretty quick. And that's on us as unit commissioners. That means we need to know who's on the district committee and what responsibilities they have so that we can turn that around quickly. And maybe that is a phone call or an email to somebody to get that information, but we shouldn't bypass them.
Don't forget to copy in your ADC who's responsible for that area too, so that they're still in the loop, because people will forget that, and that'll be the person that's going to follow up for you.
Correct. And that's, I just get, like Larry said, in the military, you don't jump ranks. That's a great way to get on people's bad side and get things lost. So
I found, as a unit commissioner, one of the ways that helped me was to volunteer to be a district committee member at large. I didn't necessarily have a specific district committee position, but I could then attend that meeting. I knew what was going on. I could bring up issues, and it was, for me, a quicker way sometimes to solve a problem coming up. Thank you for your comments. Going back to my comment about my first unit service plan, And I even think back, we go in, we record our simple assessment, and then you do a detailed assessment. Do we share those detailed assessments with the key three? And I got back thinking about that. I may share bits and pieces, but I've never invited them. I like what it said. You could include them in an email link. When you have that detailed assessment, who does it go to? Well, it goes to the unit commit or your district commissioner. Probably ought to go to your ADC also. But for sure, we need to involve our key three in that, because whatever you write for somebody else to see, I know they'd rather see it from you and then hear it indirectly from somebody else. And if you look at that, to me, is why it is so important for transparency. If you're going to be a friend and you're going to have their trust, you have to be willing to tell them what you think without being offensive. Any other thoughts about transparency? Okay. We don't just jump into unit service plan. We need to look at the JTE, what was their performance like the previous year. We need to complete a detailed assessment to look at that detail, to look at where you think in those major areas, your unit, what they do really well and where they could use some improvements. In order to pass that information on to your key three, you need to ask the key three to have a unit assessment meeting. I think of all the years I've been a unit commissioner, never once did I have specifically a unit assessment meeting. We talked about it. I visited with their key three, but I don't think we ever had a dedicated meeting. And that's one of the recommendations, to hold a meeting with the key three specifically to review the assessment. I list down here, once we've done that, we complete the assessment, but are we really ever completed an assessment of our units? Do we ever complete that?
I'd say no. That's the assessment for that point in time is no, but assessing the unit needs, like you showed on the prior slide, it's a circle. It keeps coming round and round and round. So we're never really done assessing a unit.
You go ahead.
No, it's a continual, I mean, it's changing constantly too. And so, yeah, it's never complete.
Thank you. I appreciate that. Every time we attend any function where that unit is, in our mind, we are providing some sort of assessment. It might be, they are really doing a great job. That's an assessment. That's an opinion or evaluation. Or, I don't see the leaders in uniform. Perhaps that's the reason why the scouts aren't attending in uniform. And it gives us those glimpses, and it's a continuous process. And a unit service plan isn't just a total snapshot in time. It's an ongoing process. And these are some of the tools we have in completing that unit service plan. I mentioned already the JTE objectives and scores. I would hope that every unit commissioner has already sat down with their unit and helped them create their JTE for this current year. In the fall, the National Council has the new JTE for the following year, and hope we're discussing it. We review, this is what you did here this year. This is what is your plan or your goal for next year? And we use that to help us focus on strengthening without being, hitting them in the face with it. I personally believe that unit contact log is important, maybe more so for our ADCs and our district commissioner, but at the same time, it's our mind sometimes, especially mine. I have to say mine. My 70-year-old mind doesn't remember things quite as much as I used to. And so by having those contacts, I can identify to me, okay, this is what I saw last time. this might be something I need to look into further. And then from those, we complete our detailed assessment. What are some other tools that you can think of that we can use as we assess our units? Larry, I know you're a unit commissioner. What are some other tools you use specifically to help you in your assessment of your units, besides what I've listed up here?
Well, I actually, well, you got me there, Jimmy. It's one of those that I try to involve all of the leaders to get their assessments on the unit in itself. It's very hard to, like Marissa was saying, it's hard to get everybody together. I mean, if we have to do it virtual, then that's the only way that we can get together. But the main thing is that we need to concentrate on not just the objects that you've got up here on the screen, but we need to come up with let them come up with their own ideas that's going to make the unit function. Not so much what we want them to do, it's what they want to do and what they want to accomplish.
Thank you. In building our relationship with that key three, I think it's important for us to have those one-on-one moments with them. And at that time, I really like what your unit's doing. What do you think about this? Is there something that you would like to see different? And those what else questions that was discussed in one of your previous presentations. I think part of that building that relationship is going one-on-one with the key three, not always focusing on the unit leader, because most of my contact has been with unit leaders, less so with the other members in the key three. If we've been around looking at units and done unit commissioner reports, we're aware of this matrix. Personally, I have never seen a total green unit. I've seen some units that are a little bit in the lime color. I've seen some units down in the low red. This is just a tool to help us assess our units. And that's the only reason I bring it up, because it's something that we can use, whether we use the color or we use the numbers. They're all, or the high, medium, low. Again, those are all just something that help us look at a unit with maybe some clear, concise assessment tools.
Well, I think what's important there too, Jimmy, is that on that itself, you need to let those leaders know, especially if they're down in the red, these are the weaknesses that I see, and here's some solutions that might help you to overcome those weaknesses.
Okay, I appreciate that, Larry. Going back to your JTE, if you use that as a tool to do those discussions, then by using your different colors or numbers or whatever you do, that will help you a little bit in that discussion. So thank you. Once I established that unit service plan, one of the documents I sent out to most of you was a blank unit service plan. How important is it in having a plan and not saying, okay, whose job will it be to solve this issue? Or maybe solve is the wrong word, is to facilitate making improvements in this issue. I guess I don't like the word solve. I like it maybe facilitating improvement. Did I not say that question clear enough?
No, it was clear.
Okay.
It's important that you do identify a responsible party and also a target date for when that is going to get done. Otherwise, it's just like anything else in life. comes down to round to it when I get around to it. And if you don't have that and you're not going back and looking at your unit service plan and saying, okay, how do we deal with this? And oh, we didn't deal with it. Well, maybe we set the wrong goals or whatever. I don't know. I'm not sure how you would necessarily address it. It would be in particular, but you do need to be able to identify those two key elements. That's true with unit service plan. Shoot, that's true with everything.
And I like what you said about that target date. By what day do we expect to see improvement? I was thinking back, do we only do unit service plans for those units who are down in the red, the yellow, or do we come up with a service plan for units that are in lime green? Because I personally don't believe there's any total green units.
And I don't either. And I think it's important for you work on all levels, not just the red. You work on all of them. And I, like you, I've never seen a top bright green unit yet. I don't know. Marissa, have you?
No, and even if they are in a top green, all it needs is like a key leader that's really involved to move someplace else, or the patrol that's the senior patrol all ages out, and now you're starting back with new parents. I mean, it's a constant cycle. So it needs care and feeding all the time.
Marissa, thank you. We've learned from Wood Badge and other leadership development courses to frame them as SMART goals. If you're going to ask them to do something, make sure it's doable. Most of you've had experience with SMART goals. I don't want to go into them right now, but make sure that who is the chief author of the unit service plan?
The unit leader.
Okay. Other ideas? Not saying that's right or wrong. I just want some other ideas.
It really depends on which lane you're talking about. I mean, looking at from JTE, you've got the program lane and you've got the administrative lane and stuff like that. The unit service plan is a collaborative product, and it is built by different people who are responsible for it. I mean, in some cases, you even want the senior patrol leader, even the patrol leader council, to be involved in this because they have their lane as well. So I'd say
that I totally agree with, Rich, because we got to involve the youth, the SPLs and patrol leaders, the assistant patrol leaders. They all have something to do with that plan.
Yeah, we talk so much about youth leadership. Well, if they have leadership, they also have authority.
And don't forget the committee members. So your committee members are your parents. At the end of the day, we're dealing with youth. They don't have a job. They don't have money. They're out earning money, but a lot of times, a lot of it is funded or subsidized by the parents. They're not driving age. So you need to make sure you got the parents in order to drive them there. It truly is a collaboration.
Agreed.
Again, I think through that, as you sit down, you and the key three to develop your unit service plan. From there, the key three have blessed it. I would like this to have a parent meeting where we present it, but maybe at the same time, it's a parent and youth meeting, as Marissa said, and we present this unit service plan to all them combined. And it now becomes our plan, not just my plan or the COR plan or the key three. And if you can get it presented to all and get that buy-in from the majority, you'll have a better opportunity to make those units more successful.
And I got to agree. I want to go back just one step here, and I have to agree with what Rich was saying. You got to have a reasonable, and I say reasonable, target date. I mean, we don't say, I want this done in 30 days. That's not going to happen.
Right.
So you got to give them a reasonable time to be able to hit that target date.
Nothing drives me more crazy than the acronym ASAP. ASAP means nothing.
Did you spend you spend a little time with the military? You're familiar with that term?
Just a tad, yes.
Yeah, it was always the priority was always ASAP. But I really, Larry, that's such a valid point. You've got to have that reasonable timeline. But how do we establish a reasonable timeline? Is a reasonable timeline for increasing your membership by charter renewal, or are there some intermediate steps you would take to get you to that final timeline?
I would let them make that timeline because it's got to be upon them. It's not upon us. So they're the ones who need to come up with a timeline. I mean, on the other hand, though, you're not going to say, okay, 9 months is not, that's way out of the question in my mind anyway. I can see that a unit can actually overcome and get their service plan done within a 60 or 90-day time frame.
Thank you.
So it has to be something that we coach them through, but let them make the determination about how long they think they could take it.
Thank you, Kenny. I think the other part of that, besides the time, is the priority. Is this a high priority, medium priority, or low priority? And looking at each of those elements, then we can apply the unit, or the key three can apply a unit of measurement or a timeline on when that was done. Obviously, if you have a high priority, it's something you want done right away. Whereas the low priority, you may take 2 or 3 months and still making incremental steps on that.
Hey, Jim,
Yeah.
can I tell you a little bit about what's in the chat? I don't know if you've been able to see it or not, but
I haven't looked in the chat.
all right,
fact,
let me just read a couple of comments and maybe you can respond to them. They want this person wants to learn how to do a unit service plan. I think that's a big part of what we've been doing today. But is there some documentation you can refer to so that they can say, "Oh, okay," and they can read it and take notes and all that stuff on?
Yes, there is. If you go into in the manuals of the troop guides, there's forms in the back that they use as their service plan. They're available.
Okay.
In addition, Jimmy provided us with a number of attachments from every person that came into this class. And it has quite a lot of information on kind of guides on how to do that.
Great. Thank you. Another comment is, I'm a new ADC and want to make sure I get a better understanding. I think we've done that very well here.
If I might add, Kenny, I think one of the things that I personally have not seen is I've never had an ADC say, Jimmy, let's see your unit service plans and what's going on with them. If you have an ADC in name, but you're not being asked to report back to them or review that process, then the ADC or even the district commissioner, they don't have a feel, and they may be able to have some ideas in identifying additional resources. So I appreciate the comments on that.
You're welcome.
Was there any other comments, Kenny?
The only other one is they want to learn how to help units achieve, and then it's so I'm assuming it's a unit service plan. Again, I think we've addressed that, and I think you've given some good ideas about where they can go get the resources they need. I just wanted to make a mention that was in the chat.
Thank you. I appreciate you bringing that to my attention. I didn't have them up. I'm kind of like Rick. Rick, somebody will tell me when a chat might have come up, and that's what Rich and Kenny are kind of keep me on track that way. After we've completed in that final process of unit service plan, going back to Tom's first presentation, identify the resources. Okay, we mentioned earlier, as a unit commissioner, I can go directly to that member of the district committee and ask them for specific assistance yes, I could provide the contact to the unit leader, but I think if I serve as that go-between, that link, then we may get more actionable or more immediate action than just waiting, letting the unit leader, because the unit leader are so busy, they don't have time to reach out to some of those resources. To me, part of my role as a unit commissioner is to monitor the progress. When I meet with that key three, maybe I'll take a 5 minutes and ask for a 5 minutes of meetings. Okay, in your unit service plan, I've noticed we've made progress in this areas. We're approaching the goal in this area. I become kind of like the conscience for them, because they have some other things going on that I need to be able to prompt them without making it sound like I'm being critical of what they're doing. I've listed some ideas of some ways to help with the unit service plan. I mentioned the unit chartered organization. How is that chartered organization going to help us with the unit, with monitoring and progressing that unit service projects? What do you see their role in it? Any role besides the COR being part of the author of that document? Does the organization itself have a role in it?
No, I think it's very important, at least my thoughts. And that's what I try to do as, even as a COR, and which I am, I meet with the unit each time they meet. So I can see that, if there's things being done correctly, that I could notify the unit commissioner or ADC to let them know that, hey, here's some things as the COR that I can help you with.
I would hope it is COR that you're taking that unit service plan back to the charter organization and saying, okay, this is how we're assessing our unit, success of our unit. Here's some areas where we need some improvement. What help do you see that you can provide us within the organization? And I think that's a key thing sometimes we forget. Is there anything, any other organization, person, what other help can you as a unit commissioner and the key three reach out to help with their unit service plan? It was alluded to earlier. Well, we've got the parents, we've got the members of the committee, we've got our scouts. Those are all part of the help that we can use to make that unit service plan a functional document. A plan is no good if we don't act and react to it. I may have covered a lot of this already in our discussion up to now. I'm not gonna. Here's a point here. How do we maintain accountability? If we see that the key three, okay, June 1st is a date on this and here we are, the end of May, and I haven't seen progress. How do we maintain accountability? What's our role as a unit commissioner to help in that accountability?
One of my units actually looks over, just spends a short amount of time in every committee meeting, just reviewing the unit service plan, just to get a pulse point of where they are at that point. I thought it was a great idea and recommended it to other units as well. Just every time, hit on it. And it's the committee chairman who's doing that.
I like that, Rich. I'm going to steal that idea.
I do too.
You may have it.
Wonderful.
I give it away freely.
We talked about the cycle already. What we want to do in the few minutes we have left is we want to work on the unit service plan for Troop 1000. Because we can't have breakout rooms within the breakout rooms, I made some assignments. I would like Randall, Rachel, Judy, and Cindy to go back and look at Troop 1000 and identify strengths and weaknesses in membership. And then we'll give you a few minutes to think of it individually, and then we'll chime in. I would like Scott, Marissa, Paul, and John to look at the program and how are we doing in the program area and what help we can do there.
Jimmy,
Yes.
in 2 minutes, this breakout room is going to die. And we're
What
all-
happened? I thought I had till 12:15. Well, I apologize that we got out, didn't get a chance to do that practical, but on your own then, would you go back, look at the Troop 1000 and see if you can create a unit service plan for them? And then I would talk it over with your ADC, your district commissioner, just to get their ideas. If this was really one of your units, this is how we can help them. Then you can apply those principles back to your own unit. Sorry for taking too long, folks. What are your questions and answers? Or questions? I'll try to provide answers, or I'll get these professionals that are helping me with
You got
some of
1
the
minute.
answers. 1
got-
minute.
1 minute.
Questions, anybody? I want you to
Good
know
job.
that Larry, go ahead, please.
Good job, Jimmy.
Thank you. I want everybody to know that Larry wasn't a plant. I didn't go over this presentation with him, but he sure has helped a lot on teaching. Same with Rich and some of the rest of you. I very much appreciate your help. Have a great day. And I'm looking forward to the virtual Cracker Barrel. I have mine already.
Thanks. I was going to make one comment. There was a question earlier on how to do that, just the mechanics of it. If you go into Commissioner Tools and go to start a detailed assessment, at
Yes.
the bottom of the detailed assessment, you'll see a checkbox that says create unit service plan. And you can just open those up and take a look, and it'll give you a really good idea of how to go